This is the place where you're entitled to Brad's opinion. And now for your host, Brad Allard.
All right, as you can hear, I'm still struggling with the bronchitis. And so if my mic goes dead, it's because I'm hacking up a lung, but that's okay. I sometimes get a podcast with pain, as they say in the business. You know, you can't let things like that get in the way. But anyway, I have Melissa Miller here with the Chamber of Commerce, and she brought some friends. So tell us who you are, friends.
Hey, how's it going? I'm Collin Gregory. I'm the Crime Prevention and Community Engagement Specialist over the Burleson Police Department.
Mm-hmm.
I am Stephanie Beard with Victim Assistance at the Burleson Police Department.
And we're going to talk mostly about that because Melissa's generously given them some of her time here.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, well, we'll talk a little about Chamber. We're also going to talk about this victim assistance thing because I'm sure your job is interesting to be an understatement, to say the least, you know, but it's very, very vital. I don't know if many communities even have that at our level. You know, maybe Dallas might, but I don't know many communities like Burleson size do. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, Colin's a well-known man about town. He's always promoting local business and whatnot. And we were just joking right before he got on the air here that Mary Slaney has a Facebook posting about support local business, buy BTX, which is a good idea, which is a lot more possible now than it was, say, maybe 15 years ago or 10 years ago.
That is definitely Mrs. Burleson right there.
Yeah, really. You know, but it is nice that we don't have to go to Fort Worth or Dallas to get things. Mm-hmm. And like I said right before the show, Amazon is the devil. You know, I don't care for it. You know, I know you can get it cheaper, but you know what? I seen what Walmart did to my dad's hometown up in Oklahoma, and that's it. They drove everybody out of business, you know. And so I'm glad I live in a community where I have choices, you know, lots of them.
Yeah, and it's unique. It's not the same thing on Amazon that everyone has.
Right, and you know, you're supporting taxpayers, you're supporting the police here, obviously, and then you're supporting the school district and all this, and so there you go. So anyway, I'm going to run through the first run of ads here, and then we're going to talk about a little bit about the Chamber, but I think the bulk of the show we'll talk about victims assistance and whatnot, and Collin, what you do, and you know, you just transferred over from the city hall to the police department, right?
Just recently.
Yeah, you miss it?
I mean, that's a loaded question, Brad. Very loaded question there. I loved it over there, and I'm loving it even more over here.
Yeah, okay. Well, it's great. Well, anyway, let's get on to this. CrossFit Burleson, 317 Southwest Wilshire. It's pretty important now in the holiday season you keep fit and not throw a fit. And so, you like that? I made that up for him. CrossFit Burleson, though, keep you in shape. It's a serious workout. And as you can see, Mr. Collin here, I bet you still work out.
I try to.
Yeah, it's hard to maintain the discipline, but they'll help you with that with classes and trainers and supervision and things of that nature. So, you know, the number one excuse that a lot of people have about working out is, you know, oh, I don't have the time. Well, okay. If you have the time to go spend time with the doctors like I'm going to do, you're going to you have time for working out. All right. Thank you, ladies over at CrossFit Burleson. Thank you, Shandy, at the Shandy Real Estate, Shandy Stocksdale Group. If you're moving in this area, you need to talk to her. You know, as Collin will tell you, that they're still moving in. You know, I was talking to a couple of city council people about a couple of weeks ago prior to Thanksgiving. Is like, you know, I don't know what you're reading in the papers, but they're still coming. You know.
Yes.
Yeah. So, which is a good thing, I suppose. You know, you don't want to go in the other direction.
You definitely don't want to ghost town.
No.
I know Shady does a good job on getting people into the right place.
Yes, she does, and she's been in it a while as well. I won't want to say a long, long time because that ages her, but which unfairly, but she's very experienced. Also, thank you to Otto at Our Place. You know, everybody knows Otto. Everybody knows Our Place. You know, it's a place people do business. That's where I do business. And what I like about Our Place is, I say this a lot, is not just the food is great, but the staff is great. You get great service. And sometimes they don't always get that at other places. Not in Burleson, all right? I'm not knocking anybody in Burleson. I'm sorry. I really do think that service in Burleson is better than in most towns, and a big part of that is because you don't get good service, you know where else to go. And so I really do believe that, you know, I go to some places in Fort Worth and, like, you know, I don't get the kind of service I do at Our Place or some of the other restaurants here in Burleson. Speaking of restaurants, I want to jump in here with a little non sequitur. Tuesday night, tomorrow night, Fish City is, if you go to Fish City, they'll donate 15% of the tab to Promises Community. That's something I'm partly involved in. It's it's an extension of our church, First Baptist. And so if you go there, even if you have a big bar tab, we'll take the money. All right, we don't care. So 15% will go to Promises Community, and I've had Debbie Beeman on here several times, and along with Jennifer Woods at Harvest House, and they'll tell you at Christmas time, there's a lot going on, a lot to be said, and then also, we always think of them about in terms of food provision and things like that, but they also help with utility bills, and we're going to start getting those high utility bills this winter. So there you go. Thank you, Our Place, though. I kind of dove in that direction. Thank you to Local Life Magazine. They go to 30,000 homes. I'm sure you deal with them a bit. I mean,
Tiffany's amazing over there.
And she does stuff for the city as well, and that's really good. And her magazine this month is Harvest House.
Excellent.
Yeah. And so that's what I like, is not only goes to 30,000 homes, but it spotlights certain businesses or certain areas. Like last month, there was a focus on small business. And so Local Life Magazine, I think it was like female-owned businesses and things. So, so she has these special articles and whatnot. So thank you, Tiffany, for what you do. Also, Wild Cigar and Culture. This is a great time to watch all those bowl games. And don't get me started about yesterday's who got into playoffs or not. I mean, it's a crock. It's basically
it was.
Yeah, I have no particular love for the Seminoles, but still, they got hosed.
They did get hosed.
Yeah, but it is what it is. They don't ask me these questions.
I'm sure Alex Phillips is listening to this and he's cursing in his office right now. Oh yeah, he's probably pro Alabama on this one.
Oh well, Alex. Okay, there you go. Thank you. All right. All right. Well, anyway, back to Wild Cigar. It's a great place to watch the ball games. It's a place you can actually think and talk. It's not blowing you away. Got a quality bar, got a great humidor for various cigars. So it's a good place to go and spend some time. And I had Cody O'Brien on last Thursday. Have you had much dealings with him yet?
I have not yet, but looking forward to it.
Y'all need to get together because he's doing a really good job. He's posting a lot of stuff about not just city business, but like Elk sports teams or Spartan sports teams and whatnot. And, it's kind of what the Burleson Star used to do. And, you're in Burleson native, right?
It grew up here.
Right.
Shout out class of 96. So, yeah, absolutely.
Well, you graduated with Shandy then?
Yes. Yes,
okay.
did.
Okay. So you've known her for all this time.
She was a Shandy pretty when I knew her. So.
And a big wheel at the high school. But every time I tell her that, she gets,
No, she was. She's just being modest.
Yeah, she is. She's I just had her in class, and she was like she is now. I mean, she's very diligent and very, prepared and whatnot. Back to Cody O'Brien, though, Burleson Buzz. All right. You need to subscribe. And if you hear it on this show, if you get the tip from this show, he'll give you 20% off the yearly subscription price. And it's already pretty affordable. So that's a really good deal.
Nice.
I believe his show is on Apple and Spotify as of yesterday. So check that out. Okay, Melissa, briefly, let's talk about the Chamber. What do they got going on in December?
Coming up next Tuesday, which is the 12th, from 4:30 to 6, we will be having our Network at Night at Fish City Grill. So Network at Nights are open to the public. Anyone can come. You don't have to be a chamber member, but it is a good opportunity to get you and your business out there and to obviously network and meet other people. So
Fish City is a really nice place. My wife really likes it. She likes fish better than I do, but they have stuff I certainly like. I like salmon, but there's Alex right there on the screen. Good morning, and he says he's listening in. All right.
Yes, he is.
But I really do like Fish City, but my wife really likes it because there's nothing on the menu she doesn't like. So there you go. So what night again is it?
That's on Tuesday, December 12th.
That would be a week from tomorrow.
Next week. Uh-huh.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
You already had kind of like your Christmas themed event, right?
It was Holiday Bazaar.
Right,
yes,
right.
We did. That was in November.
Right.
Yes,
So you don't have anything like what? Isn't this Saturday? I believe the farmers market's going to be open for a holiday affair.
I'm so excited for that, just personally. But we will not be there. We did the parade on last Saturday night, which was really fun. But I'll be at the farmers market on Saturday just because I really enjoy it. But
Are you a Christmas person?
I am a Christmas person. I love it so much.
Yeah. Well, okay. Somebody's got to do it.
I love it. Someone has to, and I am okay with it being me.
It's like, I guess it's more fun when you have small children. But now when kids are grown, it's a lot different, and they also have to go to the other side of the family now. Sometimes that kind of thing, So there you go. You got anything coming up in January?
We do. In January is our nonprofit luncheon. So that's our winter luncheon where we are focusing really only on our nonprofits. So if you are a nonprofit who wants to be, highlighted and get in front of a good group of people, you can be a vendor. I use the quotes because you can set up a booth, but it will not cost you anything to set up the booth or to have the lunch. And so we just want them to come out so that we can educate our community on all of our available options. And so that is January. I'm going to make sure I say the right day. It's the 18th, and that is at Pathway, and it will be from 11:30 to 1.
And Mr. Phillips is talking about the parade. How awesome it was! I was out of town this past weekend, so I wasn't able to go to this time, but I've gone before, certainly. My kids have been in it, and so it's always great.
Yeah.
It's really great to have a community that does this, and y'all do a really good job.
Yeah, we had a really good time. It was my first time. I've gone one time to watch it. And my kids are older. They're 21 and 16, so we haven't done paradey things in a long time. But this was my first time to ever be in it. And Alex and I had so much fun. And we're like, whenever we finished, we were like, okay, here's what we're going to do next year. Like, we're excited to amp it up and put more lights on things and have more fun. So we had a really good time.
It was a full house. That was
It was
a
so
packed place.
Yes,
it was really nice.
really fun to walk into the plaza and see just wall to wall of people. It was really fun.
I think besides that, the fact that Plaza makes it easier to have a central gathering point, I think more and more people have been more cognizant of these things. You and I both been in Burleson. I mean, I've lived here for 30-something years, and we've had a Christmas parade. We've had a 4th of July parade, but it seemed like most of the people that were watching it had somebody involved in it. But now it's become much more of a community-oriented thing, and it's a great thing. It's a great thing for the community. I think sometimes Burleson, we I don't want to say take for granted, but we think this is normal, which is not, because I just came from a community in Oklahoma where the population's declined to the point where they don't have any civic life at all. And so I think we just assume that everybody has a parade and everybody has a chamber of commerce that is active as ours and all, and that's not the case. So y'all do a really good job.
Good.
How are you and the girls doing?
So good. So good.
I just have this feeling that if I ever walked in in your office, the three of you there, all y'all be doing is laughing and carrying on.
We do have a really good time all the time. It is.
Yeah, I walked in there just the other day and opened the door, and all three sets of eyeballs came around the corner, and they're just laughing and joking it up, and it's a real good environment in
We
there.
have a good time.
And so there is some work getting done, though,
There
right?
is work getting done. Absolutely. Yeah. We do work. We just enjoy each other while we're working. And that really is what helps us work so just organically together. Like, our ideas just come out naturally because we work so well together. We have so much fun together. We just constantly have like this environment of brainstorming and empowerment and warmth and encouragement. And it works really well for us.
And I think it helps that you know that you have a community that looks for these kind of things to happen, as opposed to like, if it was going the other direction, I could see, it's kind of, well, let's try to do this. Oh, no one's going to do that. No one's going to see that. You know that when you put something together, it's going to be well received and well participated in, and that's a great thing. It's encouraging.
Yeah.
It keeps your spirits up.
Yeah.
Because, it would be tough if you had a community that didn't really care, and it'd carry over into y'all's own feelings and attitudes. And now you're like, we know this will work, and it's exciting to have the opportunity to do that.
Yeah.
Of course, you got the long-term stuff, but we can talk about that next month. Let's talk about the current issues here now. Ms. Beard, you are the victim assistance coordinator, I guess? Okay,
Yes.
That's the right term?
Yes.
Okay, how long you been doing this?
About 5 years.
For Burleson. What exactly does your job entail?
So we work with victims of crime, any kind of crime. We do work with a lot of domestic violence victims. And so from a minor case, just needing some information, to working with them through the process at the hospital, things like that.
When I first heard that Stephanie's going to have you on, not Stephanie, sorry, that's your name, Melissa was going to have you on, and Collin was already scheduled, but when Melissa asked about you coming on, I checked out a little bit about, your program.
Okay.
And I guess the first thing in my mind was about domestic violence, but you do all sorts of victim related assistance.
We do.
Okay.
We do. We kind of are the go-to if the police can't help. So we're kind of there. And so we work with homeless. We work with Harvest House all the time, the churches, people that just kind of don't know where to get help. And then they come to the police department often. And then it's not necessarily a police or a criminal matter. So then we try to help them.
Well, it's interesting you mentioned the homeless in particular, because I have Jennifer Woods on and Debbie Beeman on a monthly basis. I have Next Step Women sitting on about a quarterly basis. You know, I've had Lisa Schwartz at Crazy 8. And I say this all the time. I say it to redundancy, but I'm very fortunate to sit in this chair and see a very global picture of what's going on with the nonprofit community. And they tell me that the homeless problem in Burleson's growing. And it's not the kind of homeless that you see with, you know, people living under a bridge. It's people living under the car or no stable address. Is it our assumption correct that it's growing in Burleson?
I would say yes, it is. A lot of what we're seeing is just people that need guidance, and so they kind of don't know how to get out of the situation. So that's what we work with, which is really helpful. We usually connect them with Harvest House, True Worth in Fort Worth, and just kind of guide them on how to get out of the situation.
Well, they tell us that, you know, particularly with promises, I'm more connected with that because one of the main people that work there is in my Sunday school class, and he gives us like a weekly update if I can get out of the sack. And so, well, I do my best.
You did a good job, I'm sure. I'm sure.
But he gives us a weekly update, and he says that it seems like every month they're breaking their record for people needing food, financial assistance, whatnot. Jennifer says the same thing. And, you know, there's a lot of reasons I think that is because Burleson's growing, and I think also Burleson's developed a reputation for being more supportive of people in need than maybe your typical community. So, you know, and Collin, what's your connection with this?
Well, you know, as you mentioned earlier, I came over from City Hall and loved working over in the communications department over there. But the police were able to open up a position where I could come over, and essentially, it's a position that allows me to look at issues that we're having inside the police force, criminal activity, trends that are going on, looking for things such as, you know, what's the latest scam that's happening. Our officers, unfortunately, they usually get it on the back end. So a crime happens, and then they're having to either solve the crime or take care of the issue there. We wanted to do something to get something out in front of it. You know, how do we go about telling people about these activities, telling people about things that are happening in our community, and give them a little bit more understanding so that they can prepare and help themselves not become victims. And so on the second week that I was there at PD, I just started walking around the station and talking to people and talking to different departments, trying to figure out, you know, what are you dealing with? What are you seeing? What are some of the things you're struggling with? And when Steph and I got to meet, it was amazing because she sat down and she said, here's what we got. Normally, when I meet somebody, it's after the abuse has already happened, or the abuse is going on, and it's finally gotten to a point where the police had to get involved, and that's how they find out about me. But once we get to that point, and I tell them about all the resources that we have and all the help that's out there, often they turn and say, "I wish I'd known about this sooner. You know, maybe I could have gotten out of this sooner had I known that." And that was a big kind of proponent on us starting our first project with my new position over there, with just helping, trying to get the word out that there is assistance available for people if they're willing to step forward and ask for it.
Stephanie, are you a Burleson native?
I've been here quite some time.
So you're close enough then, right? And I know Melissa is a Burleson native, and Collin's a Burleson native, and I consider myself one now since I spent more than half my life here, at my rapidly aging life. Anyway, the point is that, you know, we had these problems in the 90s, all right? People want to think that this is a modern thing, but back then we were really too small to have the kind of assistance programs you're talking about. Plus, there's a different kind of attitude about these kind of things. You know, if you were a woman going through domestic abuse, you were ashamed of it, and you didn't want to have people to know. But you and I, and as a teacher, and all the students and whatnot, and you knew what some of that was going on. That there was domestic violence going on, it's just now much more noticeable, I suppose, because we look for it and try to deal with it as opposed to sweep it under the rug, which was the method we did back in the 90s, so to speak. You know, and I'm glad that the stigma of asking for help is going away, if not gone, because I know that, you know, I had kids that probably were getting abused and I didn't even know it because they wouldn't tell me. And if I didn't notice, if I noticed the physical marks of it, I not only was obligated to do something about it, but wanted to do something about it. A lot of kids kept it to themselves. Do you deal with children a lot?
Not too much.
Is it mostly women you deal with?
It's a good, I would say mostly women.
Yeah. But I guess domestic violence can go either direction. You know, it's just a stereotype that it's the, you know, the wife getting abused. The husband could be just as physically abused. And,
Absolutely.
And probably even less willing to talk about it.
Yep.
You know, because Coots my age, you know, we like to keep everything to ourselves, you know. So, but I'm glad that we have a community that this is available, because it isn't available to everybody. Or if you go to the big city, I mean, you're going to be dealing with a massive bureaucracy. Are you the only one that does it, or do you have a staff?
I have another person with me. She's part-time.
Okay, so you do have a little help. You know, but as we get bigger, we're going to probably have to expand this department, unfortunately,
Absolutely.
in a sense.
Yeah.
How long is this assistance program, or this kind of, I don't know if you call it assistance, but I guess that's a good word. How long has this been available?
So Burleson's had a part-time position for several years. I don't know the exact number, but there was somebody before me who was here, I would say at least 15 years or so. So it's been around for a while. We just recently this is the 4th year, I want to say. I'm a grant-funded position. So we were able to get that full-time position and then still keep our part-time.
Well, grant from the state of Texas? Yeah, okay. There you go. Yeah, I have a doctor's appointment, guys. Don't worry. Right? Anyway, but the point is that now we have 1.5 people, so to speak, working. And as we get bigger, your staff is going to grow, and that's one of the side effects of a growing community, isn't it? And I mean, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
You know, people. I've talked to some of the older folks, and sometimes they get a little bit disgruntled about how big Burleson's getting. I'm like, would you rather go the other direction? You probably encountered that, you know, somewhat, because you've been like Burleson native.
It does. I mean, anytime we put anything out on the good interwebs, you know, you always get comments of one way or the other.
Yeah, you get like, well, this wouldn't be happening if blah, 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 blah. And like, this is going to happen.
They're all entitled to their own opinion.
Yeah, no. They're entitled to my opinion. So right there on the screen.
I should have read the marker.
Yeah, right. But as far as,
Goodness.
you know, as we grow, and we're growing, you know, as you know, just consistently every year, we're going to encounter big city kind of situations, you know.
And it's good people like Stephanie and her crew, and a lot of people that we meet. There has been such a stigma about police in the overall national media, and I will say one of the first things that I learned when I got over there is none of that's true. These are some of the most amazing, caring people that I have ever met, where you walk in and you when you start talking to them, you just hear their hearts, and they start it's almost they're pouring out affection, but they just have to deal with it through the law. I mean, if they could go the extra mile, and a lot of them do on their own time, these people, they're cut from a different cloth. They really are.
Well, yeah, it's true, and I will forgive that officer gave me a ticket about 7 years ago, but still,
By the law.
by the law. I know. I like, don't you know who I am? And no, it didn't work either. So, but no, I know some of these police officers from days of students, you know, and so I know what kind of men these are, and then of course we have more women than on the force we used to, but I don't know any of them personally. But what I've noticed about my every encounter with the Burleson police is that they take their job pretty seriously, but they don't take themselves seriously in the sense, you know, they're not like cowboy rogues out there trying to be, you know, badasses on the street. They're here to serve and protect, as they say.
Right.
And I think that's a statement about the quality of leadership they have with Billy Cordell, but also there's the kind of people they look for and hire. And it's the same thing with the SRO groups. You know, I had Scott Shahey on last month with the security for BISD, and they had this little film clip about the SRO guys, and it still clutches you just a bit to see these kind of devotion they have for this job and for the people. And again, it's something that you just don't see all the time. And I keep pointing that out because I think sometimes in Burleson we get so locked in, we think that this is the way it is for everybody, and it's not.
You can't do that job as a job. It has to be something you're passionate about.
A calling.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like the mission field or something like that, as far as Shandy will tell you is that the two things that almost always the first thing they ask about when a potential home buyer into Burleson is the schools and the police. And then the third thing, or maybe the second thing, who knows, is the business climate, so to speak. And Melissa could speak to that. I mean, y'all been expanding every month, haven't you?
We have, yeah. We have ribbon cuttings all the time, multiple each day that we do them. Sometimes we have to do bonus ones, and we'll do them on a Friday or a Monday, or just it's awesome that we're growing so much. And again, they're coming to us, right? You don't have to hustle for it. It's just that people see the value in it and they want to grow and be a part of something.
And I think that's also a testament to what people think of the chamber, because they have. I'm sure they're going word of mouth and getting all these recommendations to come join the chamber. You're going to get something out of it.
Yeah.
Then the more you put into it, the more you'll get out of it.
Exactly right.
So it's a really good. I've been to a couple of these things lately, and it is a very relaxed atmosphere. It's hardly you wouldn't know you were in a competitive business environment. I mean, it's like all friends, and it
really is. Yeah, it's not like you're falling over yourself trying to get your card in front of someone's hand and like all backstabby and whatever. That's really just not the kind of people that we have in our town specifically.
Well, I had Matt Cobb on last Tuesday, and he's a member of the chamber, and he talked about how the plumbers in the community were very helpful to him when his father passed. And his father. It took a couple of years for him finally to let go and all that, and so the business has kind of went sideways a little bit. And he said the other plumbers in the community, assisted him a little bit to get him back and running. I thought, you don't hear that very often about competitors propping up one of their fellow peers in the business. Instead of trying to take their business, they said, okay, what can we do to help Kyle Plumbing? Yeah. So that's remarkable. But I'm going to do a couple more ads. We can talk about some more businesses, and then we're going to talk about the process of what Stephanie does. I mean, how does one get involved? How do you make the contact, or they contact you, or how you get connected with a victim? But anyway, Southern Gym is going to be open in late hours, or up until 6 from now until Christmas time, and every Saturday. They got a lot going on. They had a really big trunk sales, they call it. Some vendor of theirs, one of their main vendors, came in, and they had really great discounts. And so I went to see it just to see what's going on. Of course, I've said many times my wife works there, and they were busy. And so if you're looking to go there, it'd be a great place to take Mrs. Gregory for.
I'm sure she would enjoy that.
Well, but they got stuff for everybody's wallet. They got high-end stuff, and they got the affordable stuff, and it's all quality. So it's a good deal. And what I like about this, Collin, is if you go to Southern Gym, take Mrs. Gregory with you, Robin, or the other Robin, as they call her. There's two Robins there. They could show your wife around while you could sit in the bullpen, as we call it. This have a little couch here. You got TV. You could have yourself, Dr. Pepper or a beer or whatever. And thought, wow, that's smart. Park the husbands, let the women go around. Well, because a lot of places don't have that. And so the guys, TikTok, let's go. Well, I want to finish this game here, so go look around some more.
I might actually have to do that.
Well, it's a really nice place. But anyway, it's over at the Standard, and like I said, they're going to be open a little bit later this week. Also, our friends at Old Pro Roofing, John Williams, 817-734-2756. Now, I'm going to tail into this. Is another thing. Y'all know Steve and Carl Jansen, right?
Yes.
Okay. How I could put this story? He does a lot of photos. A lot of people come by, sit on his lap and whatever on his knee. And the Aiken family came by. The Aiken family,
yes, absolutely.
And he was really touched by the fact that those young boys are going to be spending their first Christmas without their father.
Right.
And so I'm talking to you, vast listening audience. If you want to, connect with the Aiken family, the Mrs. Aiken and her boys, drop a Christmas card off of our place. On the 16th, Santa, as we know him, will be there for photos and have people sit on his knee and whatever else. And he was really touched by that. He wants to deliver the cards personally. And so if you have a means by which you want to, express your condolences to the Aikens, you can do that by dropping off a card at our place for the next couple of weeks, and then and also bring one maybe on that Saturday, and Santa will make a personal visit to their home. That's a big deal when you're a little kid.
Absolutely.
Santa may not be God Almighty, but for a little kid, it's dang close. It's like and that's a celebrity.
Absolutely.
So
Drop off a card, eat a pancake.
That's right. Yeah, right. That's true there. So I'm sure John won't mind me tagging on his ad because Matt Aiken started Old Pro. And so 817-734-2756. Have him, check your roof out. He'll give you the straight story. He's a really fine young man. I wish he wasn't already involved. I'd say, hey, I have a daughter. But no, But anyway. Also, you probably know these people because they've been around. Sammy Joe Campbell and Candy Gow. They started their own business, Camco Mortgage. And they'll tell you it's still, in this area, it's still busy. Candy's a member of the BNI group I'm in, and she says usually November, December is pretty slow because people are more involved in other things. But they're still doing business here in Burleson. And they'll tell you about the rates and tell you about refinancing if you wish, or if you're going to buy a house, they can find you the best deal possible. Sammy and Candy have been doing this for over 20 years in Burleson under various titles, but now they have their own business. So call Sammy at 817-778-4592. And 817-925-2661 is how you get hold of Candy. They're still here in town. It's not one of these things you do online, or talk to them on the phone. If you could do it online, talk on the phone, but if you want to see them, they're at the B&G building, that south building at 3rd floor. So, Taylor, do you have any nonprofit things going on? I mean, I know they're not off the top of my head, but Holiday
Toys
Friends.
for Tots already happened?
Yeah, Holiday Friends and Toys for Tots. Holiday Friends is an ongoing thing. Toys for Tots was last week, and before I see in the postings, it was very, very successful. And
Awesome.
Yeah, but of course, all the nonprofits could use help at Christmas time because they're going to get extra business, so to speak. Anyway, speaking of business, so Stephanie, how do you get in contact, or how does one get in contact with you if they need your services?
So normally what we do is read through any interactions with police. So we are essentially looking and following up with victims that have police encounters. So then we'll reach out to them depending on how the method is, how it's safe for them. Phone call, we can make a personal visit. Sometimes the officers will reach out to us. We are on call all the time, so we can respond to a scene. So if it's a really hostile situation and let's say a suspect is arrested, it's safe for us to go, we can do that. And they can always reach out to us by email, phone, any kind of communication. And of course, now we have this new campaign going on. So
What's it? Okay, I noticed you have the poster here. I was going to ask you about that. This is a good time. Let's talk about the campaign.
Yeah, absolutely. So when Steph and I sat down to talk, and we started going through the different levels of, what she deals with, the victims that she talks to. One of the things that I went back to my office, tried to decide what's the best way to start helping victims that are looking for help that don't know that's out. When they're out and about in town, whether they're at church or shopping locally in Walmart, wherever it may be, we were trying to find a place where we could get this information to them, but in a safe environment where they're alone. And so we came up with this. Taylor, I'm going to do my best to hold this up. There we go.
If you have one, you can text me. I can put it up.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, you have that on your phone.
I sure do.
He'll get it up in the
Yeah, I'll send it to you in just a second. So these posters have a QR code that essentially sends them to our Victims Assistance website. The website is interactive. It allows you to input your information, send that, and it sends it directly to Stephanie and her group. That information gives you the options to put some bullet points. There's some buttons you can push in there if you're not really even sure what you're trying to do. We give you the ability to put in some stuff just to be able to send it. You send us your contact information. Everything stays confidential unless there is something that the police would have to get involved in.
Right. The confidentiality is
It's
point I would
key.
stress. Yeah, because a lot of people, men and women, fear retributions. About, I'm sure you deal with this quite a bit, Stephanie. You said you're on call 24/7. You get calls at 2 a.m.
We do.
Yeah.
So we do. We work with death notifications and stuff too. So often those are the calls.
So, well, it is an all-consuming job, isn't it? Though, if you're on call all this time, I hope Burleson compensates you appropriately for that.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
yes.
but it's a. There you go again. Anyway, this bronchitis is a lot of fun. Anyway, that is. I would imagine though, I always am interested when I talk to people like yourself that are involved with the community or the nonprofits. How do you not let it affect you personally? Because you're probably seeing some pretty hard stories.
I would say just watching somebody overcome a situation is really powerful, and just knowing that we're making a difference and that we're helping from something so simple or to something extreme. So
Well, here it is. On the screen here is the program and the QR code.
Absolutely.
And so, again, I want you to tell us about this.
So what we decided to do is try to find the best location where a female victim, and I'll put an asterisk next to that because I know not all victims are female, but we're painting with a broad brush to start
But the
this
majority
program.
probably are, aren't they?
I would say so.
Okay.
And so that's where we decided to start. That's not where we're finishing, but that's where we decided to start. We are placing these into every female restroom that we possibly can on the inside of the stalls. This is a place where a victim may be able to go that she is not going to be overseen by her abuser. This is a place where she can be alone, that she can communicate without prying eyes around her. These aren't sitting on the wall where if you walked into a communal restroom where you're walking in that you see somebody scanning this code and you obviously, we wanted to put it in a place where it was the most comfortable spot that somebody could be to be able to get this information and be able to do it in a confidential way. That was the purpose behind creating these posters.
Now, you said in restroom stalls, like in local Burleson businesses?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And like our place, et cetera.
And that's where we come in with the chamber right now. So, as I
makes
said
sense. Now the
earlier today, I walked into to the chamber. I had called Sarah Roberts, Sarah Brown, from when I knew her in high school.
Me too.
But walked in, I had contacted Sarah Roberts. She said, "Hey, come by and just tell us everything." So I came in, and all three ladies sat in the office with me. We discussed it, and they said, "What can we do?" And the first thing was, we need businesses. We need names of businesses. We need businesses who would want to put this up in their facilities. This doesn't have to be in. If you're a restaurant, we would love to have you put this in your public area, but not only your public area, but if you have a facilities where you have just for employees, we want it in every restroom that we possibly can, so that this is available to anyone. The confidential stays to it. This goes to Stephanie. I know a lot of what we discussed in the very beginning was, well, I'm afraid to contact because I don't want to get the police involved. The police do not get involved in this unless Stephanie realizes there's a situation where something is happening that the police have to get involved with. So this stays confidential between her and this person who has scanned this QR code and has reached out to her. And that's what makes it, I think, even more powerful, is they get somebody who can help them find out what their rights are, what programs are available to help them, what financial resources are out there. I know she's dealing with some people right now that have just, have reached out asking for things that aren't abuse related, but they need help.
Right. So it's not strictly domestic violence. It's maybe financial distress or homelessness, like we talked about. I think it's a incredibly good idea to put in the women's restroom stalls. I mean, I wouldn't even think about that. Where did you come up with that idea? Then it's very clever.
Divine intervention.
Okay, well, that's true because I mean it's probably the most confidential or secure place for a lady to go, and because if a guy entered the women's restroom, he's got another problem on his hands.
Absolutely.
Right? So, but I'm quite sure, Melissa, the Burleson business community has been very acceptive of this idea.
So we haven't put it out yet, and we're
Okay.
going to. Colin
right.
just sent over the press release and things to Jessica. She's told me before I left to come. She's like,
Yes, and she sent me an email. I haven't looked at it yet, but she may be hitting the send button here relatively soon.
Yeah.
I can promise you, I know
They will be saying
they
yes.
will absolutely and give me more.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Because I again, in part because of this job I do here, this modest little podcast, I've come to know a lot of business owners, and it's really is nice to see how they're going to respond to this. I can promise you. I know Otto and Chris over at Wild Cigar and Kayla, over at Southern Gym, they're going to be all over it. So
Otto, I will come in personally, drop them off,
and have
for
it-
pancakes. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Well, you'd be surprised how many people do call upon Otto.
Yeah.
Because I do. Like this business with we're trying to get some, make the Aikens family Christmas better for them. But he also did Toys for Tots. So did Chris. So did, and other businesses that aren't sponsors. I saw Toys for Tot boxes everywhere. And, I thought that's great. So this starts today or is ASAP?
We have, yes, ASAP. So we, I had to give a shout out to Paul over at Sign Solutions. When we were trying to put this together, he came and met us halfway as far as the cost. I'm sure he doesn't want to be throwing that out there, but Paul, you were huge in the ability to get this moving forward. I happened to have this. I was working back at City Hall. My computer and stuff has not been transferred over to PD yet, so I was working in my old office, and I actually had this poster pulled up on one of my screens, and Mayor Fletcher came walking in, looked at it, asked me about the program. We talked about it for a second. He was pivotal in getting this moving.
Sure.
He was a huge help, him and Nancy both. So huge shout out to them. But Sign Solutions has these. They were able to give it to us at a very discounted rate in order for us to move forward because Paul believes in the program just as much as we're talking about it right now. And so that's where we're going to be with our businesses. We need some help getting these out there. We need businesses who are looking to put these in. We got these down to about $7 pop. So we're looking for businesses to partner with us so that we can create more of these.
$7, okay.
Yeah. So if you have 3 stalls, that's $21. I mean,
Well,
I say that I went to Burleson. I think my math is right. But.
well, okay. What we could do here on this show is we can keep this and we could throw it up there.
Love to.
At the end of the ad runs we do. And, so we do that for the nonprofits all the time.
We appreciate that.
Have you thought about partnering with the BISD? Because, you're not just talking about women, but maybe kids, would see this.
Yes, and that's where the confidentiality comes in. So under 18, there are some things we have to report. So we don't want to focus on the younger generation with the confidentiality yet, if that makes sense, because we have to protect them. So it's more geared for adults right now, but we would not turn anybody away by any means.
Well, as a teacher, I was obligated by law, which to me was superfluous in a sense because I was going to do it anyway. But if I find out about an abuse case, I go to the counselors. Sometimes I go to the SROs like Jack Goldman, whom you remember, I'm sure.
I sure do.
And Jerry Stringer and others. And, and it's here's what I always notice is like, oh, please don't tell. But in their heart they're saying, I need somebody to tell. It's like, oh, don't tell, please. But really, they wanted me to,
Right?
because they wanted somebody to know, but they wanted somebody also to, blame if it gets out of hand. And it's that Allard, he got out. Man, should mind his own business.
And like we said, we're starting with that broad brush, but again, shout out class of '96, Michaela Hill over at BISD.
Oh yes,
we'll be reaching out to her and her group. I think we're trying to find a time to get with Power of Heels. She's a part of that, and so that was going to be kind of our pitch at that point. But now that it's out there, Michaela, if you're listening.
But she might, because I do once a month. I do BISD, except on months like this where it's final exams and Christmas. It's hard to get a guest. But she and her staff. Have you met Caitlin Tyler.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. They provided me a guest, and and one of the guests I had last year deals with this.
That's awesome.
And in fact, we had last October, I had with Scott Shahey, I had, oh gosh, I forget his name. I'm sorry, but he works in the counseling area, and they deal with this. So anyway, the point is that I think you have a very receptive audience with Jimerson and crowd over at the BISD, and I'm sure Michaela will be all over it.
Yeah, and we've worked with the school a good bit, and so whether some of the parents feel more comfortable going to the school, and so then we just work with the counselor in the school, and they never come to the police department, and so that's a big connection right there.
I really got to say that the schools would be a really good place because a lot of these young women, and some of the young men, I mean, some of these young men grew up with maybe alcoholism in the family, and they're getting beaten and all, and I dealt with high school, the junior high. Was where I taught for a little while. That's where I saw more of it. Maybe because by the time a young man is 16 or 17, he could fight back, but not when he's like 12. I think, if not in the restrooms, the counseling offices definitely should have this because I think you'd be surprised just how many young women in particular will take advantage of this. And it isn't just necessarily like domestic abuse. You're talking about maybe sexual assault.
Right.
You're talking about other types of physical crimes, and they, that's another thing that people don't want to admit that they were assaulted.
Yep.
And so I think if you had a confidential and anonymous way that they could get in contact with you in a location that they frequent all the time, I think you're going to need some help. I'm afraid to say.
Yeah, we agree. That was one of the things we talked about. And our goal is, of course, a lot of people, when they are in these situations, they don't even know that resources exist. So the goal is just to tell them that there is help, that they really can get out. We know it's not easy, but, we're their biggest cheerleader, and we'll stay with them throughout the time.
Well, I'm really glad you have it, though, because back in my high school teaching days, I was probably the only contact that some kid may think I had with the authorities or with an ability to get out of that situation. They wouldn't go to the police, so they didn't know anybody. And so sometimes they would let me know in certain ways that they need help.
And I'm sure most of the counselors at BISD have a understanding of the amount of resources that are out there, but
They do
partnering
now,
with
yes.
them and to give them an understanding that there are even more than that. I know they're focused on the kids, but some of these kids bring to them problems about with their parents, and maybe their parent is facing something, and now these parents. Or now these counselors have the ability to turn those parents, maybe towards Stephanie and her group.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea, and I know the businesses are going to be all over it. This is what you like to do, Melissa, isn't it? Just more,
I love this.
Yeah,
This
she's
makes me
smiling the
hot.
whole time. Instead of talking about it, you can just almost the enthusiasm. You could feel it like some sort of buzz.
Because this is what matters. Doing this matters. Like, you're actually changing lives. You're actually impacting and making a difference. And if a business can get in on this, yes, that's great. Like, you need their support and their help, one, to put it up, and two, to fund it and things. But like, you're literally changing someone's life by participating in doing this, and something that would only cost you as a business $20 to $50.
And it's tax deductible.
But it's a huge impact that matters. And getting out the part where it says on there that we have resources that empower. Like, it's one thing to just tell someone like, hey, I'm really worried about you. I've seen some behaviors, or I've seen this bruise, or whatever it is. But to be the person on the receiving end, it's not doing them any good to just point out that, hey, I'm seeing that you're in danger. This is a mess. But what? But I can't leave. He's the only one who makes money. I'm not allowed to work. I'm not allowed to drive. I'm not allowed to do these things. And actually having a resource that gives them a real way out, a real hope to get back on their feet and to take a stand and to do what they need to do safely. Like, it matters so much. So yeah, this makes me very happy. And when he came and approached me, I was like, okay, so when this is done, let's talk about this other thing.
Well, also in my teaching days, let's say I had a student come to me and say, so-and-so is getting abused. There's very little I could do, because I'll go to that student they told me he was getting abused, and say, hey, what's going on? If nothing was going on, or maybe there was an exaggerated situation or whatever the case, as a teacher, I'd be way out there by myself because it was, because you had to have physical evidence, so to speak. Now, if it is a teacher, if they came to me and said so-and-so's getting abused, I could say, well, there's a QR code. There's a means for that, your friend, to go and, try to access some help. Because,
and when they're ready, when they're actually ready, because you can't force them to do it.
Right.
It's got to be when they feel, okay, I have to do it now. Now's the time.
I just remember an episode of a colleague of mine who was told somebody was being abused. When she went and talked to that person about it, and it was, they had a fight with the family and all this other stuff, but the parents called the teacher and gave them a real hard time because, she was accusing those parents of being abusive. Whether they were or not, I never did know the end of that story. But this, I think, will give the teachers in particular and business owners some level of protection, if you will, from some sort of retribution, saying, that, you got involved where you shouldn't have. So I think this is a great idea,
One of the questions on the when you go on the QR code is, I don't know what I need, or I just want to talk. And so I think that what we see a lot of times is that people know there's a problem, or the victim, let's say, knows there's a problem, but doesn't even know what they need. They're just so overwhelmed that they, and then we get to talking, and then they're like, oh, well, yeah, okay. And then, it's just a process. And if they're not ready, we just stay with them. So we have people call the office all the time, and they're, I'll say, well, what can I help you with? And they're just like, I don't know, I just wanted to talk.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then let's talk again.
Hey, Taylor, we're going to have to go about 5 more minutes because I've been doing too much talking. I want to make sure that people know how to do this program. So if they want to get a hold of you, how do they do it? So
at the Burleson Police Department webpage, my information's on there. So it's victim assistance. And then my name is Stephanie Beard. My number is 817-426-9901. And then, of course, my other contact information, email, and everything is on there. So this QR code, you can scan it. It brings you right to the victim assistance page. The email that is linked to this is with both me and my coworker. And then we also have a great group of volunteers. So as we are more needed, we do have some volunteers that will help. So they are community members within Burleson as well. And so they volunteer. They don't necessarily know about the program yet, but they're going to know. And so we definitely have help, and we are ready.
So it doesn't have to be like a criminal thing. It could be like an economic distress thing, and you'll be able to direct them to Harvest House Promises, et cetera, right?
Exactly. So sometimes what we see is people get frustrated. For example, we had one over the holiday weekend. She was trying to find food, and everything was closed. And so having a direct connection with Harvest House can be a benefit because in a crisis like that, we were able to reach out to Jennifer and all they needed was food. But, in the end, she's going to connect with them and do their whole process. So it's just a matter of getting that connection.
Well, how do you keep from, getting overwhelmed by all this? I mean, you're seeing the part of Burleson a lot of people don't. You just tough it out every day. Huh?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, well, it's very, very powerful to see the change in. We've seen some real change in people's lives, and it's very powerful.
And like you said, it's 24/7. So if somebody calls at 2 a.m., hope that didn't happen very often, but
it doesn't.
Okay.
It doesn't, and it's not just me. So my coworkers and my volunteers are helpful. So if I'm called, if I cannot respond, somebody else can.
Wow. I mean, it's incredible, though. And what it always strikes me is we have people in this town that do what y'all do, Yeah, like I said many times, I sit there and see this on a global picture and see these nonprofit organizations and the effort they put into it and all that. It's just, it's amazing to me. So I think this is a great idea. I hope I see these all over town. You might, talk about women's restrooms. We talked about, men's restrooms too, because not just the women.
We're moving on with this campaign. It will continue in that direction.
Well, I guess because of my teaching orientation, I'm thinking about the young people that don't have any idea what to do. And, they don't have any idea that these things exist. And they walk into a business or a restroom or whatever, and they see that. And they say, maybe I could do something, to get myself out of this situation. And I'm sure you'll have those in the nonprofits. Yes, and all the rest. Wow, it's just it's phenomenal. And Melissa, you must have a real good feeling about what you do because this is what a chamber does. not just promote business, but it promotes the community. So
It's that part for me. It's never mind the business part. I mean, we need them, right, to make it successful. But again, it's the empowering people and helping them change their lives.
And it's, as much as I know Sarah and I've come to know Jessica, I bet they're all over it.
Absolutely. We were absolutely the first thing we said, how can we help?
Yeah.
I was like, the answer is yes, whatever you need. How can we help?
Particularly Sarah, she's very enthusiastic.
Sarah's 100% enthusiastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, Brad, one last thing on these posters. We have talked about people reaching out and finding information, but there's also that small percentage that's in trouble at the moment. And there is on this poster and on the page, if you scan the QR code, most people don't know this, but you can actually text 911. And through that, we're trying to get that message out along with this, that if you're in an immediate danger situation, your attacker is right outside and it's just a bad moment, you can discreetly text 911 and it's as if you were calling them. They will respond right back through text message. You can have that conversation back and forth and get immediate help at the same time.
Well, I'll tell you what, Collin, contact me in a week or 2 weeks, and if you need more information out there, just let me know. Because, like I said, we're going to be running this ad for the rest of the month.
I appreciate that.
And you could just say if something has changed or added or whatever, just let me know. Okay. So, because this is what the show is about. I mean, I could bellyache about Joe Biden on my own time. So, and I do. But just let me know. And Ms. Beard, I really appreciate you coming.
I appreciate.
I appreciate what you do, and I'm very honored that y'all use this platform to help announce this program. Melissa, you're doing a great job, and I appreciate what you're doing for the community here. I'm sure the learning curve has been a little steep, but you seem to be handling it just fine and dandy. So
thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
And Taylor, you gonna be all right?
I'll be all right.
He's gonna be all right. He's been back there just kind of helping us with all the wizardry of the computers.
It's always something new.
Okay, something new. Anyway, tomorrow I have a maybe potential new member for you. Joni Cawthon's her name. She's just moved into town with her family, and she's a photographer.
Nice.
And I met her at Gala's place, and I think she was visiting at one of your Network at Nights.
Yeah,
for
she
Gala's.
might actually be. She might already be.
Yeah, I'll ask
the name
her.
is familiar. Actually.
Okay, I'll make sure she is after tomorrow, and then on Thursday I have Michelle Humphrey at Heartworks. She's going to talk about fitness stuff, mostly about how to stay fit and how to eat properly during the holiday season, which a lot of people let it go during that time. They eat a lot of junk and whatnot, and she's going to give you some advice on what you can do to kind of keep that in line. So I'll see y'all tomorrow, and I God bless y'all what you do. Really, y'all do great stuff for this community.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
We'll talk later. Bye-bye.